Hello. Today, on Thursday, we're talking about radical equations. So they're going to look crazy, but they're really just like solving regular equations. There's just like a couple of extra steps because now we are in radicals. So a radical equation is an equation that has a variable inside the radical. So an example would be like 50 equals the square root of 2x. X is inside plus 5. Since x is in the inside of the radical, then that makes it a radical equation. Okay? To solve the radical equation, you must first get the radical expression by itself. So the radical expression is just literally the part that's the radical. Alright, so like looking at this first example that I'm going to take you through, right down here, alright, is the radical expression is this part right here, because it's inside the radical. So basically we want to get this by itself. So we want to move the 2 away and the 1 away. Okay, so to get the radical expression, we need to move the numbers on the outside of the radical to the other side. Okay, just like what we did back all last unit or all last semester. So first we want to take care of the addition. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to move the 1 over. So I'm just left with 2 radical 3x minus 5 equals, now it's 14. Keep going, the 2 is still on the outside, so I'm going to divide by 2. So here's where I'm kind of at right now. So far, I've done step 1, which is get the radical expression by itself. I want just the radical and whatever is stuck in it to be totally by itself on one side. Okay? Once you do this, though, this is not the answer, because the whole goal is to get x by itself. So how we're going to do this, the thing that undoes a square root is a square. So we're going to square both sides. So in other words, the little 2, remember, because the little 2 cancels out the square root. Okay, so I'm going to come over here, get a different color to show you just kind of like the next step of this process is we're going to go right here and we're going to little 2 both sides, because the whole goal is to get rid of the square root sign. So now I'm just going to continue in this color. Now we're left with 3x minus 5. Notice how we did not square this stuff. The square just takes away the radical. Equals, and then 7 squared is 49. Okay? And then just solve for x like normal. So plus 5, we got 54 equals 3x, and divide by 3. So x is 18. Okay? So really the new part is this getting the radical by itself and then squaring both sides. Okay? So we're just going to continue on down through here. Do these 3. I might have you do a couple on your own, but I'll do this first one with you. So I want to get the radical expression. So again, this is the radical expression. So I'm going to move the 7 away from it because it is outside the radical. So I'm left with 5 equals the square root of x. Now we're at that new part where I want to get rid of the radical, so I square both sides. And I'm left with, the radical's gone, and I'm just left with x, which is what we want, equals, and then 5 squared gives me 25. Done. Okay? Keep working on this stuff with you. This is the radical expression right here. So the 3 is on the outside. So to get rid of the 3, we're going to divide by it. So I'm still left with the square root of 2x equals 4 now. And now we're at that step where we are going to square both sides to get rid of the radical expression, or just the radical. So I'm left with 2x equals 16. And then the last thing is just solve for x like we normally do. So x equals 8, and we're done. Okay? This one's nice because look, there's nothing on the outside of the radical. Don't try to add 3. 3 is stuck inside the radical. So this entire thing is my radical expression right here. So there's nothing to move. So we're actually right at this step. I'm going to get rid of the radical at the very beginning because there's nothing on the outside to move. So 2x minus 3 equals, now it's 49. Add 3 on both sides. And then divide by 2. Okay, so x equals 26. Alright, so those are just some basic ones. We'll go on to the back side and do some more complicated ones, and I'll have you do a few on your own. So let's do the first one together first, just because it's a little bit more complicated. Here's my radical expression right here. So the 3 and the 5 are what need to move. So I'm going to subtract 5 on both sides. I still have my radical expression that needs to be left alone for right now. But I can divide by 3 because I don't want anything on the outside. And now we're at the step. Look, square root of x plus 4 is totally by itself. So now we're at the point where we want to cancel out the radical and go from there. So we're at x plus 4 now equals 16 and solve for x. So x equals 12. Okay? I'm going to have you do this one on your own, but I will put up the answer. So pause it, give it a shot. This is kind of a gross one. It doesn't work out to a super nice number, but should get x equals 6/5. Okay? This one, I'll just kind of get you started. Don't let this freak you out. This is just a radical expression. So the 5 and the 1 still need to go away. So I'm going to add 1. So I have 15 equals 5, and then this fraction of a radical here. That's still my radical expression, so I still need to divide by 5 to get me 3 equals square root of 3x over 4. Now we're just, look, everything's stuck in the radical right now. So I need to move this out, or get rid of the radical, in other words. So here's where I am with this problem, which I'm not going to finish because we've done this plenty. But now you just solve for x, which would start by multiplying by 4 and then going from there. Okay? I'll tell you that you should get x equals 12. So try it out, make sure you do get that. Okay? Alright, moving right along, we have what happens if it's just not as pretty as the first couple. Okay, there is one thing you do have to keep in mind, and it's right here. If I start to solve this, there's my radical expression, so my 8 needs to go. So here's where I am, right here. Square root of x equals negative 3. Alright, this is what we are looking at right here. When you get the radical expression by itself, what number does it equal? It equals a negative 3. Can you take the square root of any number and get negative 3? No, you cannot. Because a negative, the only way to get a negative number is by a negative and a positive. Square root, though, is multiplying a number by itself exactly. So the sign has to be the same. There's no way you can do that and get a negative. Okay, so this problem actually has no solutions. So basically, we just have to make sure we check for this, okay? So I'm going to take you through a couple, just making sure we are checking for negative numbers, and I'll show you exactly where to check. So right here, let's just go through. As of right now, this would be a no solution, but we always need to isolate the radical expression first, then we check for it. So still go through this process, and now look what you have. This is where you check, okay, right here. And since that's positive, we can go on, okay? And we can go on with our step of clearing out the radical. So this would be 4 equals 4x, and then solve for x. X equals 1. Okay, so right here is our check for the no solution. All right, so let's try this one. We're going to divide by negative 3. Divide by negative 3, so I'm left with x plus 1 equals, now it's going to be negative divided by negative is a positive 7. So here's where I'm checking, and it's okay. Alright? So I'll let you finish that one, but this is now where you would square everything and solve. Okay? And you should get x equals 48. Okay? Keep on going with these. Here's my radical expression. So the 6 needs to move. And I'm left with 10 equals a negative 2 is out in front. So some of you will be able to see right away what this might what happens here. When I start to divide, 10 divided by negative 2 is a negative 5. So this one right here is actually our first no solution. Because here's our checking step. Right there, that is not allowed to happen. Okay, since that is a negative, this makes it a no solution. So you don't even have to square both sides. Okay? So checking right here when our radical expression is isolated. If that's negative, you cannot continue. Alright? I will do one more with you, and then I will let you try the last two on your own. Look at this. We have two radical expressions. However, a lot of people will panic and start trying to move the 4 and get variables together, but you can't because your stuff is stuck inside the radicals. But we know how to undo radicals. So in this case, what's going to happen is you just square both sides, because then we can get rid of both radicals in one move. Okay, because this would cancel out that, this would cancel out that. So literally what you're left with is just 3x plus 4 equals 5x minus 6, and then go from there. Now this is just like a normal solving for x problem that we did a lot last semester. So subtracting 5x to get over with the other x's equals negative 10, and then dividing by negative 2. So x equals 5. Okay, so if you ever have two radicals, just get rid of the radicals right at the beginning. There's no need to move anything. You can't move anything until you get rid of the radicals. Alright? So I'm going to have you do these. This one's going to be a no solution, but try it. Make sure that you do get a no solution. And this one is going to be an x equals negative 2. Okay. Your homework is on Canvas. Okay, so homework, Canvas, quiz, due at 7:45 the next time we meet. Okay, so if you're a Monday, Wednesday, so since this is Wednesdays, it'll be due on Monday at 7:45, and then the Tuesday group, it'll be due on Tuesday at 7:45. Okay, email me if you have any questions, and I'll see you on Zoom tomorrow during the day.